ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're already on there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zach Hardy. I am the host of the Coffee House podcast. This is the rebranding of the Hardy Complex, a rebranding that I completely own the entirety of the intellectual rights to. Wonderful, right? So, we have some business to take care of. For one, this past Sunday was Ultimate Consequence. This Saturday is going to be AEW's All Out pay-per-view. There was some shocking news from the NFL, and on top of all of that, the VMAs just happened the other day, and I have quite a few strong opinions on music award shows, or just award shows in general. So let's get started with Ultimate Consequence. It's not a show that I plan on talking too in-depth about, but there were some great moments on the card. Western Light vs. Norris Cadavery was much more fun than I was anticipating, and not just because Western Light was involved. But it was an all-around good match, and it was a good match in the way where you can say it was actually a good match, not trying to convince yourself that it was a good match in order to save face for one of your, favorite performers or somebody you followed for a long time. Choi Ji versus AJ Cornell was also fantastic. I think it really elevated both men as stars. But I think the biggest talking point of the entire show was what ended up occurring in the International Championship match. So, Paul Orlando has held the belt for, I think we're coming on 300 and something days, which is an extremely long reign, which I undoubtedly believe will be ended at Bulletproof in November, or probably or maybe beforehand, but I would assume that it would end, at Bulletproof. Octavian is a guy that has been, for the most part, very, very heavily associated with the God Complex, without being linked to any departure from the group. The God Complex has always had this overall identity as opposed to individual identity. So Artemis and Ophion are not, or at least haven't been, as much of a central, or they haven't had a personality trait or a way of their character that is differed from that of their counterparts in the God Complex. And therefore, we end up seeing, very oftentimes, all members of the group just sort of being a part of the God Complex as their overall motivation for whatever it may be, and never, formulating and cultivating their own personality. And that's something that can only really be done over a long stretch of time. When you wipe away an identity from somebody, it's hard for anyone to begin to associate themselves or to associate their interest in someone they don't really know enough about. Octavian was going to be a project, just like Aphrodite was going to be a project. Artemis was going to be a project. Ophion was going to be a project of forming a personality, forming a character, forming something of individuality, as opposed to group wide. And he was going to be a project the same way his counterparts were going to be a project in formulating and establishing this identity. It was an identity that was going to need to be sold to the fans in such a way that they had no choice but to buy in. It was an undeniable sort of attitude. No one expected Octavian to really be the breakout star. Obviously, it was Aphrodite, who, if we're talking in foresight, is probably the most individual personality from the entire group. So many people assumed that Aphrodite would be the person to have the longest lifespan outside of the God Complex, but for whatever reason it was, and for whatever it was that they were writing Octavian into in regards to his character over the past few weeks, the past few months, and writing the God Complex over the past few weeks and months, they got behind him on this show, and Paul Orlando very much took note of that. The crowds began an Octavian chant, they began a God Complex chant, but they started an Octavian chant again. It seemed as though Octavian had done something. Pulled a string, hit a nerve, struck gold at some point during the match, and the crowd loved it. And the crowd fed off of it. And Octavian was given whatever it may be, the push of the momentum. And now it seems as though Octavian has a realistic shot at taking that international title off of Paul Orlando with Bulletproof. I'm going to stick to my guns at that one and go that Octavian probably has the very best undisputed chance of taking that title off of Paul Orlando. I think it's an inevitability, but I think at the end of the day, if you want anybody to end Orlando's reign, you're going to need it to be someone that's over as hell. And for whatever reason it may be, for whatever process it took to get Octavian to this position he is in right now, where he is over with the crowd, whilst also being an individual from the God Complex, but also being a firm member planted within the God Complex with no dissension amongst the ranks. Whatever it was to get that done, it worked, and Octavian looks 10 times better for it. I would not be surprised, because I would be expecting Bulletproof to be the site of Octavian taking the title off of Paul Orlando. Separate from that, it was a good show. Hearn Astley beat Crosby Thorne to retain the world title. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it all because obviously this is Wednesday and it happened on Sunday. Lone Wolf beat Crimson Red via submission to retain the global title, which I thought was a fairly reasonable conclusion. I don't know what they're doing with Crimson Red, but I do like the fact that they're pushing Lone Wolf, because at the end of the day, he's always fantastic, and it's great to see USW noticing that they have talent and noticing that they need to use it. The Golden Manifesto, Mika Jordan and Austin Atomic, defeated the God Complex, Artemis and Ophion, to retain the World Tag Team titles. Jade Oliver beat Aphrodite in Aphrodite's rematch in a ladder match to retain the World's Women's Championship. Surveillance Washington beat Jack Ramsey, AJ Cornell, and his oppositional boys, Ryler and Sickle, beat Choi Ji-Yu with Majigetta in his corner. I like that they're establishing that pairing with Choi Ji-Yu, because it gives him a sort of veteran leadership and the ability to have a mentality of someone that's been there longer than he actually has. I love that that point of the story, and I think it's fantastic. The 2-on-1 handicap match, Natalie Dawson and Margot Silva defeated Cindy Allison Jackson. And Norris Cadabri with the Wine Cellar pulled off the upset in Western Lights pay-per-view comeback. Well, not really pay-per-view comeback, but a comeback nonetheless on pay-per-view to win that match. So all in all, it was a good show. Took place out of Montpelier. I think it was a great starting point for Severity's build to Bulletproof. I think it hit on a lot of topics that I don't think, well, not topics, but I think it hit on a lot of notes that Capital Carnage did not hit on. And so I think Intensity's build to Bulletproof, especially with AEW's weekly show sharing the 9 to 10 time slot, I think it's going to be much more difficult for Intensity to build up to Bulletproof. And also with NXT coming into play, even though that won't have too much of an effect, I think it's going to be much more difficult for Intensity to build to Bulletproof. And I think that it's only that mentality, that idea is only fully, or more fully presented forward when you look at the difference between Capital Carnage and Ultimate Consequence. Ultimate Consequence felt like a pay-per-view that you wanted to pay for because you wanted to see. And Capital Carnage felt like, yeah, it was a pay-per-view, but it was a show that we didn't get too much more than we would have on free TV. So that is my stance on that. We got Allegiance for Intensity coming up in the next few weeks, and Emergence for Severity coming up at the end of September. So I will keep you tuned on that on the Coffee House podcasts directly following that show. But now I want to switch gears into the NFL, which maybe you like, maybe you don't. My show, though, and I got a lot of strong opinions. Football just tends to be one of those sort of topics that I tend to have a hot hand on. So if you haven't heard, or if you're not a football fan, which is perfectly fine if you're not, But if you're not a football fan and you haven't heard or whatever it may be, Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts, the quarterback, obviously, the Indianapolis Colts, has retired at the age of 29, which is extremely early in a quarterback's lifespan. Usually, franchise guys like Andrew Luck, who are looked at as the face of the team for as long as they play. In football, you're drafted into the league. You're taught how the league works because guys come from college into the professional league, so they go from playing guys at their age range to guys at their age range and a few years older and a number of years older and really older. But there's a big difference, and it's a very harsh sort of transition to take part in. And with quarterbacks, they tend to be drafted into the league, and if they manage to show that they have the talent to help a team succeed, help a team move forward constantly every single season, they're playing really well, their team is doing really well, they're looked at as a franchise quarterback, a guy that a team is called a franchise. The Indianapolis Colts are a franchise, an NFL franchise, and they are looked at as the face of that franchise. As long as they play, the team wants them there because the team wants them to continue to help their team succeed. Very clear. So, if you don't get football, at least you have a little bit of an understanding as to what the situation is and what Andrew Luck means. Now, for you football fans, many of you are familiar with the fact that franchise quarterbacks tend to play a very, very long amount of time in relation to the rest of the league. Running backs, the guys that run, they tend to retire before 31, right? That's when they've already gotten out of their peak years and they're going on the decline into, you're good, but you're not as good as you used to be. So as you make your money at the end of the time, you use that money to invest because you're older now and you're smarter, you have a more conservative sort of mindset in regards to your wealth. You take that money and you invest it and then you retire. That's what players tend to do. They get older, they don't start blowing their money on all this lavish luxuries. They start taking a step back, they realize their paychecks are going to start coming down now because they're going to leave the league. And so they start investing in things like real estate and stock and so on and so forth to ensure they always have a backup plan. But with quarterbacks, it tends to be different because running backs get paid, and I know this is not a small amount of money, but in regards to the rest of the NFL, running backs don't get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. You tend to see running backs get paid $60 to $70 million, which is a lot, but not much in relation to the rest of the league. Offensive linemen, the guys who protect the running backs, the guys who protect the quarterbacks, they get paid pennies on the dollar. Kickers, who oftentimes have the game on the line, and a win or a loss is determined by whether they can kick a ball where they need to kick the ball, get paid pennies on the dollar in comparison. Just this offseason, I'm a 49ers fan. Our kicker, Robbie Gould, held out for a while. He wanted to get a trade, but he ended up working out a 2-year deal with the 49ers. It was the first time we really saw a kicker start taking a stand and start requesting more money, and oftentimes he should. I'm obviously not an NFL executive, and maybe this wouldn't be my mindset as an NFL executive trying to shave money so I can spend it on another player, but at the end of the day, I think if there's anybody that should get, more money than anyone else other than the quarterback, it should be the kicker, since oftentimes when the game is not on the quarterback's shoulders, it's on the kicker's shoulders. So you gotta start treating your kickers better. When it comes down to receivers, the guys that catch the ball, they don't make as much as quarterbacks. Defensive linemen, cornerbacks, free safeties, strong safeties, your linebackers, your defensive linemen, offensive linemen, receivers, running backs, tight ends, fullbacks, doesn't matter. Nobody makes as much money as the quarterback. 49ers had signed Jimmy Garoppolo to a I think it was a 4-year deal for $135 point something million just 2 years ago. All right, and already at the time, that was the biggest contract for a quarterback in the league. He was making the most money out of every quarterback in the league 2 years ago, and now 2 years later, there are like 9 people that have been making more money than him. Russell Wilson just signed, I think, a contract worth close to $200 million. I'm pretty sure $200 million, something along those lines. So you get a lot of money as quarterback, and it may not seem like an important thing from a guy that doesn't watch football or a girl that doesn't watch football, but when you're paid a large amount of money by a team, it's typically used as an example to show that the team has faith in you, and the team cares about you, and the team really needs you, and they really want you to be around for a very long time. And the Colts have done virtually none of that with Andrew Luck, despite the fact that he is one of the only franchise quarterbacks to really be a franchise quarterback over the past few years. You used to always get these sort of things, franchise quarterbacks, guys a team could build around for 20 years, which means you don't have to worry about something for 20 years. It doesn't matter what it may be, but if you didn't have to worry about something for 20 years, you'd take it, because you'd be assured that there's no worry about it, and it seems like such a long time that it's like forever. That's what Andrew Luck was to the Colts. A number of years ago, I would say a good 20 years ago, every quarterback was pretty much the same. It wasn't until Michael Vick came into the league, you can say what you want about Michael Vick's personal life, but it wasn't until Michael Vick came into the league that you really saw an emphasis on quarterbacks that could run, and quarterbacks that were agile, and quarterbacks that could be athletic. They didn't just stand in the pocket and throw. They could run if they needed to. If the pocket was collapsing, they weren't getting as much protection. They could get out of danger, find a little pathway, and make themselves more time to throw. And you saw that with Randall Cunningham, you saw that with Steve Largent, I believe. No. Jim Zorn. No. One of the Seahawks quarterbacks, I forgot. But one way or another, you've seen that in the past, but it wasn't until Michael Vick came along that you really started to see that change start taking full effect and start taking a more popular route. And before that, you had really only gotten the quarterbacks that were the only popular quarterbacks, the only guys that could really get the shit done when they needed to get the shit done. Oftentimes were seen as the guys that just stood in the pocket and threw the ball. They didn't run, they didn't jump, none of that. Because of how different quarterbacks are nowadays, because of how different they play, because of how different they're treated, because of how different the game is, to the point where the quarterback means more than he did 20 years ago, means it's harder to pinpoint down your franchise quarterback. And since it's only been about 10 years since this style of play, where a quarterback can be a quarterback that does anything, a franchise quarterback can do anything, there hasn't been enough time to really dissect what kind of quarterback is the best quarterback. It's a very fast league now, so you want a mobile guy, but you also want a guy that's going to remain healthy and that won't break down. And while mobile guys that can run and make more time for themselves, if their protection's going down, they can run around and find a little place to stand for a few more seconds to get a throw off. You want a guy that's mobile. It's a speedy game, it's a fast game, quick game, but you also want a guy that's durable. You want him to be able to get hit a few times, get hit a number of times, but still get back up, not go down with an injury. That's what plagued Robert Griffin III. His career is nothing now because of injuries. And so therefore, it's like this double-edged sword. It's like you're working with a budget. It's a quick league, so you can have a mobile quarterback, but he's not going to be as durable as others. Or you can go, hey, it's a fast, quick game, but I want a guy that can just stand there and throw. And he won't be mobile, and he won't be able to make more time for himself. He'll probably get sacked a few more times, but he'll be more durable. It's like you have to choose your sword, whether it's one with a sharper blade or whether it's one with a longer blade. One way or another, you're falling on your sword. Andrew Luck has been, or at the very least, was a guy at the start that could do a little bit of running, make a little bit of room, but it was mostly a guy that stood in the back, stood in the pocket, and waited for his throw. For 3 years, the first 3 years, he took a team that before he got there was 3-13 underneath, I believe, a 39-year-old Kerry Collins. Or not a 3-13 record. I believe it was a 2-14 record, 2 wins, 14 losses. That was 2011, whatever Peyton Manning's last season was. Without Peyton Manning, without anybody, they went 2-14. When Andrew Luck came in, he not only led them to an 11-5 record, but the AFC Championship game. And he did that, minus the AFC title game, he did that 3 years in a row. 11 wins, 11 wins, 11 wins, and he would have continued to do that, if not gotten better, had it not been for the injury that he sustained. That took him out for a while. Not too long, but long enough so when he came back, he got injured again. This time it was the shoulder. The shoulder is the worst thing, other than perhaps the hand, for a quarterback to injure. Because that's what they need to throw the ball. You want to throw it downfield, you need to move your shoulder a lot. Can't do that when your shoulder is beaten to shreds. And so Andrew Luck, over 3 years, goes 33-15 with his team. A team that went 2-14 without him. The year before he got in there. That's how good Andrew Luck is. Right out of college, he played with the big boys, and he kicked the big boys' ass. He played in a conference with Tom fucking Brady, a guy that, no matter what it may be, if you know football, or if you don't know football, a guy, a girl, some person in a coffee shop, some person in a sports bar, they all know who Tom Brady is. That's how good he is. He's a great quarterback. He's one of the all-time greats. And this is a 49ers fan who fucking loves Joe Montana. One way or another, Tom Brady's a great. Andrew Luck played in a conference against Tom Brady. He played Tom Brady very often. And there were times where it seemed like he was kicking Tom Brady's ass. He was doing that at a time where he had just started entering the league. And there were guys that had been in the league for 12 years, played with guys like Tom Brady, or played with guys like their age range, younger and older, that could not do what Andrew Luck was doing. He was a special talent because of how different the quarterback position is now. I'm a strong believer in the idea that a franchise quarterback no longer exists, because there's no longer a perfect quarterback. A perfect quarterback is a guy that can keep up with the rest of the league, but also avoid injuries. I don't think that's possible anymore. And I don't think it's possible when you're put into a situation that Andrew Luck was in. When he got drafted, the Colts were in absolute turmoil. They had a dumbass general manager. Their owner's a fucking piece of shit, coming from a piece of shit family that packed up a moving truck quicker than Jeffrey Epstein packed up his goddamn bed sheets. Listen, that is a horrendous situation for anybody to be dropped in, let alone a rookie. And Andrew Luck still made it work. But he needed protection. They did not give him protection. There are 7 rounds in an NFL draft. Usually, the 7th round is the last round you want to be involved in. That's where you just go, nah, I'll take him, and you hope he does something special. In the 4 years that it took the general manager at the time to run the shit, they had only drafted 3 offensive linemen, 3 guys to protect the quarterback before the 7th round. All of which were busts. All of which, not busts as in they were supposed to be good and they weren't, just all of them were bad. They did nothing. So Andrew Luck was given absolutely no help. They were given a perfect position to build around guys, and to build around one guy in specific, and they decided to play their cards. They did the equivalent of playing Catch-21 and saying, hit me with 19 cards. Not how that works. Not how that plays. Oftentimes, bad idea. This time, bad idea. Andrew Luck was put into the goddamn cabin fire, and he paid the price. He went down with an injury. Nobody even assumed he was going to come back and play. And guess what? He came back, and he led them back to the playoffs again. Was it an 11-5 record? Yes. Did they succeed again? Yes. Did Andrew Luck get hurt and come back when nobody expected him to and kick more ass? Yes. In a conference, no, a division in which people expected the Jaguars to run the NFL. Did Andrew Luck come back and kick ass? Yes. In a year where people expected Marcus Mariota to break out and bring the Tennessee Titans over the hump that I guess Blaine Gabbert could only really end concretely, did Andrew Luck still walk in and win? Yes. The Houston Texans, young fantastic franchise quarterback, face of the franchise, Deshaun Watson, running back Lamar Miller, who while may not be great, has had experience in the league and knows how to win. DeAndre Hopkins, arguably one of, if not the best, wide receiver in the entire league. Andrew Luck has to play them twice. Andrew Luck came back off of an injury. Andrew Luck got onto the field, played them twice. Did Andrew Luck come back and he still found a way to win? Still found a way to kick ass? Still found a way to overcome all those three teams and bring the Colts back to the playoffs. A playoff appearance they did not deserve. Did Andrew Luck manage to come back and do that? Yes. And this is the guy that the Indianapolis Colts spent years neglecting, ignoring, refusing to help. They were the crackhead parent that blew all of their money on drugs and then asked their kid for more drug money. Did they deserve it? No. Was Andrew Luck like the gullible kid that went, well, sure. You're my mom, you're my pops, here's the money, go ahead. Yeah. Does it suck in retrospect? Yeah. Why? Because now Andrew Luck is retired. And we missed out on a generational talent. Oftentimes when I speak about a franchise quarterback, the only examples I can bring up of the past 10 years of a quarterback being drafted and being expected to run the face of the entire organization, very, very few times since 2010 have I seen that, and has it worked out the way it was supposed to. Cam Newton is not one. He's not a future Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a quarterback that needed a lot of help to win. Andrew Luck had no help. And he still went to playoff berth after playoff berth after playoff berth after playoff berth. Cam Newton's not a franchise quarterback. Andrew Luck is a franchise quarterback. Think about the quarterbacks that were drafted after Andrew Luck. Think about the quarterbacks that were drafted before Andrew Luck. Robert Griffin III probably could have been special had he not gotten injured, but he would have burned out because that's how mobile quarterbacks work. Blaine Gabbert. Jake Locker, out after 2 years. Tim Tebow, don't even get me started. Sam Bradford can't stay healthy for a damn cent, and he's supposed to be a part of the category of quarterbacks that don't get injured. Baker Mayfield, he's worked out, but it's been 1 year. I don't look at a franchise quarterback as anything other than a maybe. Until about 3 years. Once they've played consistently for 3 years, they've shown that they can develop, they can show that they will evolve as a quarterback and evolve as a player. That's when I will admit that they are a franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, don't get me wrong, they all look great, but they're nothing but possibles. They're potentially. They're maybe. They're not there yet. I haven't seen enough of them yet. So while I think they're great, they are not a break from my usual belief that a franchise quarterback is the deceased position, the true deceased position on a football team. Before that, 2016? Now let's just go everywhere. Geno Smith? Nope. No. Ryan Tannehill? No. Jameis Winston? Fuck no. Marcus Mariota? I mean, he's getting injured way too often. Can't finish out a season, and you don't get very far when you rely on Blaine fucking Gabbert in week 17. No. That's the answer to that one. Marcus Mariota, no. Deshaun Watson, give him this year. If he's still playing well, maybe I'll say yes. Nick Foles? Fuck no. Carson Wentz can't stay healthy. Dak Prescott? Oh, let's see what happens when Zeke comes back. Let's see just the difference in play, and we'll see exactly how much of an effect Dak Prescott has alone. Eli Manning? He was drafted, 15 years ago? It seems like he was drafted just yesterday, at the same time that it feels like he was drafted 30 years ago. Christ alive. Man, oh man, oh man. Washington? Case Keenum? I like Case. I think he's great with the right system. But no, not a franchise quarterback. Kevin Hogan? Nope. Cody Kessler? Nope. Deshaun Kaiser? Nope. Anybody from the Browns before Baker Mayfield? Nope. John Manziel? Nope. The only guys that I could have an actual argument towards putting in my franchise quarterback list would be, and I'm a 49ers fan that does not like the Seahawks. I don't have much of a problem with them now, and in comparison to a few years ago. But as a 49ers fan, the only break from the true, belief that there's no such thing as a franchise quarterback anymore, the only guys that I can say are franchise quarterbacks are Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks, and before, a few days ago, Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts. That's not only a generational talent, but that is a complete and utter shift from the rule. It's like LeBron James. Just because LeBron James goes from high school to the NBA doesn't mean everyone can. You hear what I'm saying? Just because LeBron James did it does not mean that you can. Because look at all the other guys that failed to do so. Alright, he's not the rule. Alright, he is, what's the term? I always use a specific term. LeBron James is the... Christ. He's the break from the rule. What's it called? He is the... He's not the example. He is... Fuck it. I'm not even going to try. Andrew Luck is a guy that completely disregards what something should be, and he succeeds in spite of it. Andrew Luck is a franchise quarterback in an era in which not only is a franchise quarterback more difficult now than it ever has been before to pinpoint and to point out and to find, but it may just be deceased. He got no help. He was given nothing. He gave his blood, he gave his heart, he gave his soul to the Indianapolis Colts. And not only did the front office choose to refuse to acknowledge the work that he did until it was too late, not only did the front office refuse to admit that he needed help and give him help in return for what he gave to the city and the team, but the fucking fan base that was cultivated by these inept schmucks in the front office booed the one reason why they were relevant in the first place. Had it not been for Andrew Luck, had the front office managed to screw up again and go with Robert Griffin III instead of Andrew Luck, the Colts would be relegated to being the Kerry Collins-led, or the Blaine Gabbert-led, or the Sam Bradford-led 3-13, 4-12 at best Indianapolis Colts. And you booed him. He was walking off the field for the final time, moments away from giving a press conference in which he had to admit that he couldn't do it anymore, and he had to give up the one thing he loved more than anything else for longer than anything else, and you booed him. He gave you everything, including his life and his health, to get you to playoff berths that you did not deserve, and you booed him for that. Shame on you pieces of shit. Shame on the Indianapolis Colts fan base that did that. It's not all the Colt fan bases. It's not all the Colt fans, but it's a select few. It's the few that decided to be dumbasses and burn their jerseys because they don't understand the whole concept of money. It's the Indianapolis Colts fans who cannot accept that their team is such a fucking shame that they don't deserve a generational talent like Andrew Luck. It is the fans that decide to praise the front office for every small decision, like game review pages praise Madden for being a step in the right direction 7 years after they said the same exact thing. Shame on those Colts fans. Shame on the Colts front office. Shame on the Colts franchise. Shame on anybody that agrees with anything any member of a fucking front office, including Jim Irsay, ever says. Andrew Luck is the hero that Indianapolis got and needed but did not deserve. And the selfless motherfucker gave them the hero they needed anyway. And you booed him for saving your franchise. How fucking pathetic. Well done. The 1-15 season is exactly what you deserve. I'm Team Andrew Luck on this. Switching gears now. The VMAs. Yes, I did absolutely just manage to find a way to transition from Andrew Luck to the VMAs. It's not really just the VMAs or just Video Music Award or just music awards in general. It's awards. Never been the biggest fan of awards. I've always hated the idea that in 2019 we have to watch what we say and we have to watch who we say it to. We have to take everyone's sides into consideration. Otherwise they're going to cry, they're going to bitch, and you're going to be held accountable for it. Never been the biggest fan of it. Alright, I think that's the beauty of a human being. Alright, do I like Nazis? No. But do I like the fact that we are so different as a species, so different as individuals that we can be a part of something and we can associate ourselves with something instead of having to kind of walk with the line as if we were a part of a factory? Yes. I hate Nazis, but I love the fact that there are people that hate Nazis and people that love Nazis, and such a polarizing difference is possible. All right, I don't love that in general, but I love the fact that we can have an individual on one side and another individual on another side. Both sides are completely different in moral belief, and that's okay, because that's what a human being is supposed to be. Free, can do what they want, say what they want, whatever it may be. I've always hated the idea that in order to make a kid not feel bad, we give him a participation trophy. A trophy that isn't even worth the toilet paper I wipe my ass with. But we give it to the kid so they don't feel left out. Therefore, the kid never changes. Therefore, the kid continues to go on the rest of his life, believing that as long as he participates, or as long as he's a part of the winning team, doesn't need to do anything for it, but as long as he's a part of it, he's going to get a reward. He's going to be able to smile. Always hated that. But what I've hated even more than that is giving people what they don't deserve and rewarding people for the horrible things they do. When you look at music, think about the music industry right now. What's popular? Ariana Grande. All right. Cardi B. Mumble rapper A through T. I've been very outspoken against the music industry. It's not just the Coffee House podcast. It's just individual topics of conversation for years. Go back to videos I put out when I was 14, 15, in 2014, 2015. You'll see exactly my point. I don't like the music industry. I don't like the path it's taking. And I do not like where it's headed. But I'll tell you this much. I love the fact that we can do that. I love the fact that we can be different. Rock and roll is not country, and country is not pop, and pop is not hip hop, even if the whatever it may be, whatever combination of it mingles and mixes in with each other. I love that. It's just like the whole Nazi scenario that I gave you. I don't love the fact that there are Nazis, and I don't love the fact that people have to hate Nazis because they still exist. That's not my favorite thing, but I love the fact that it is possible as a human being to be on two completely different sides of the spectrum and still be human beings. I love that we can all be unique to whatever degree we desire. Good, bad, indifferent. It makes it to where human beings are special because we don't have to follow a line. But in the music industry, that's exactly what it is. Don't get me wrong. Taylor Swift is talented as all hell, and I respect her a lot more than many other pop stars for the reason that she writes her own shit, or at least she has the ability to write her own shit. I'm not a fan of people writing, or people singing what other people write for them. I've never been a big supporter of that. But I do love when it's proven that those same people have the ability to write a song of their own. Because I know it's not always their decision. It's sometimes the decision of the record label. It's sometimes a decision of the label that produces and releases the music, if you can even call it that. So, yeah, stick true to the name. It's coffee. I do love that we can have people with the ability to create something of note. But, for every Taylor Swift, there's a Cardi B. Alright, an individual that can or cannot write their own stuff. But one way or another, whatever they do, whether it's what they wrote themselves or whether it's what somebody else wrote for them, it completely means nothing. I'm going to type in just Cardi B lyric. Alright, press song by Cardi B. Alright, let's go with the full lyrics. Alright, I'm going to read off Jesus Christ. I'm going to read off the first, somewhat legible verse in this, all right? And just tell me what you take from it. Tell me what importance it deals out, and I'll tell you what I see from it. And this is my first time looking at this, so pardon me, but all right. Bitches be pressed. I assume that's just a repeat in the background, an echo repeat. They knew how I'm coming, real bitch in the flesh, woo. Who the fuck she gon' check? Who? ? She be talking that shit, talking out her neck. Brr. I assume that's her stupid sound. Put blood on her dress, woo. Bitches be mad when they see Cardi step in the spot, whoa. Said that, you bout it, we know that you not. I'ma pull up on bitches as soon as I drop. Bought a new foreign, I might cop a yacht, skirt. Bitches in my business, they tryna plot, woo. Hoes poppin' shit like they hot, but they not, no. Just flooded the wrist, the Patek, the watch, whoa. Niggas be flexing, we know what you got. Cardi done had got the game in a knot. Fucking your nigga, I got him on lock. This go bang bang like I'm chopping them chops. VVS chain, I'm in love with the rocks. You said you gon' take it, bitch, you got me chopped. Whoa. They throw in shade because they see me on top. Tell that bitch to pull up. I'ma send you the drop. What the fuck? What am I supposed to take from this? This isn't even mindless enjoyment. This is just mindless. Bitches be pressed about what? All of this, in my mind, is just a self-aggrandizement for Cardi B herself. This is by Press. Alright, now let me see this. Press VMA. Well, it's just... Now we gotta type in her name as well, I guess. We're so focused on attention, we need to use the term press and everything, I guess. Oh, okay. Wonderful. The top story by Essence is, here's how to get Cardi B's VMA nails. Fucking idiot. Alright, you know what? Let's go from Cardi B to, let's just see, VMA nominees. I just want to kind of put forth this notion of just how stupid this is. So, alright. Let's find, what is it? It's supposed to be... Alright, wait. Okay, where's best song? Oh, there's dance video too? Wow, this is fucking stupid. Where's the best song? Oh, song, okay, Old Town Road. It's about a horse. Whatever. Thank You Next, I guess. Alright, we'll go with Thank You Next. I hate myself for this, you know. Lyrics. Not even sure how to read this. Oh, it's just another song about her. What the fuck? It's in pop now, too. That's gonna be a meme. If this podcast ever becomes a success, that laugh is gonna become the meme track. One way or another, this is what we're paying people for. This is what we're rewarding. We're giving people nominees for the best song of the year when talking about themselves and their love life. What the fuck? Christ alive. Remember November Rain? Corny and cheesy as shit. But there was more soul in that painful rain. I mean, I like November Rain, don't get me wrong. But that cheesy cornball bullshit. There was more soul, more care put into that song than every song that was looking to win best. Whatever it may be. Christ alive, are you kidding me? My God! This is what we're rewarding. This is what we're giving people plaques for. This nonsense, trap rap, comprised of nothing but talking about bitches, killing people, talking about how great your life is in comparison to everyone else's, and also fucking bitches. And fucking bitches. And fucking pussy. That's it. Oh, and also cars and luxurious and lavish wealth. But I don't have a problem with people writing shit about that. That's perfectly fine. I have a problem with the people that are giving them money for it. I have a problem with the idiots, the dumbass, nonsensical ass jacks that are going to shovel shit for these people and give them money to talk about how much better their life is in comparison to theirs. And then on top of that, we reward them for it. I don't like when we give kids a participation trophy, because it gives the kids this allure, this idea that all they have to do is show up and they'll get a trophy. They don't need to score a fucking point in a basketball game, but as long as they're on the winning team, they'll get a trophy. And now, if they're not on a winning team, they'll get a trophy for getting to the game, to the title game. And if they're not in the title game, they'll get a title or they'll get a trophy for getting to the semifinals, or in the quarterfinals, in the first round. Sooner you know it, you'll just give every member of a team, a trophy for being a part of a league. Congratulations, you've made it to A plus Pee-wee football. Here's your trophy. Fucking imbeciles. There's no desire to improve. There's no desire to achieve anything. And now, as long as you're nominated, that's a success in itself. You don't need to win Best Song, even though the Best Song of the year does not win Best Song. It's not even in contention because it's not even known. One way or another, nomination is the biggest, reward you can get other than the victory. And people are fighting, clamoring over this victory. The sad thing is, why are we giving them awards? I mean, if this is what they want to do, if music, you're being paid to create something and being paid to do what you love to do, that's enough of a reward itself. Millions and millions of dollars to release, albeit a shitty song, should be a big enough reward. You shouldn't need a trophy. You shouldn't need a fucking plaque. Is it pretty? Sure. Do you have something to put on this abandoned shelf you have in the corner of your home? Yeah, sure. Do you need it? Fuck no. Oh, it's an award for doing nothing. It's an award for being able to win an award. That's what that is. It's ridiculous. And then you add into the fact that they're just giving awards to the worst possible candidates for the rewards. It's like in the Democratic nomination right now, you've got, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris and Andrew Yang, even when he's not being ignored, and Beto O'Rourke and Julian Castro and Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren all fighting for that top ticket. And then at the end of the day, the only people considered are Marianne Williamson and fucking Tim Ryan. That's exactly how this shit works. You've got... I'm not calling Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, even if I'm a Bernie Sanders voter, but I'm not calling Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden the best options, but I'm considering them as what should be the most looked at because of whatever it may be, whatever reason that they're the most looked at, and you give it to somebody else who clearly, for whatever reason, just does not belong there. For whatever reason, they've been dictated to not belong there yet. That's what we're getting. It's a bad analogy, but that's what we're putting forth. There are plenty of great rap songs, or great raps, I guess. Plenty of great pop songs, plenty of great rock songs, plenty of great country songs. I'm a big Panic at the Disco fan. Love Brendan Urie. His wife is gorgeous. I love the fucking bassist of this touring band. My God, I still hung up over Nicole Rowe. But one way or another, they are not rock. They're not rock and roll. Are they Bad Flower rock and roll? No. Alright, are they Citizen Zero rock and roll? No. Red Sun Rising rock and roll? No. They're... That's not fucking rock and roll. That's glorified... band practice? I don't know. That's not rock and roll, however. Alright, neither is 21 Pilots. Alright, and neither is Youngblood, as much as I like Youngblood. People are surprised when I say I like Youngblood and Billie Eilish. But I like Youngblood. He's not rock and roll. He's not rock. Alright? Red Sun Rising is rock. Hailstorm is rock. Pretty Reckless is rock. Bad Flower is rock. Citizen Zero is rock. Nothing More is rock. Highly Suspect is rock. Cleopatra is rock. Panic at the Disco is not. It's not a celebration of the best that music has to offer anymore. It's a celebration of how mindless the people that listen to this quote-unquote music are, to the point where it becomes successful. Don't get me wrong, I think Lil Nas is a swell individual, but at the end of the day, Old Town Road means absolutely nothing, but it held the record for whatever because it was catchy. Welcome to America. Your world sucks, and it's not the dream it used to be. And the VMAs are no longer, they never really have been a celebration of the best that music has to offer. But no matter what music award it may be, if it's a music award show praising the best that music has to offer without looking beyond the surface level of popularity, it's no longer a celebration of the best that music has to offer. It's a fucking memoir to what music used to be, since it's dead and we killed it long ago. We're just dragging its corpse behind us and waving to passersby, hoping to pull it off. Old fucking Weekend at Bernie's style. Not how that's gonna fucking fly. But for whatever reason, it's deemed how shit's supposed to work. So I don't know. But award shows are ridiculous. Like, movies and acting, I can understand. Alright, if you're a tremendous actor, it doesn't matter in music anymore if you're talented or not. If you put out something that people can be just as mindless as they usually tend to be while listening to it, you'll be popular. But in acting and whatever it may be, you have to be successful, or you have to be good in order to be successful. Nobody watches a bad movie or a bad television show because, oh, this person was in this, whatever it may be. Mostly because at the end of the day, if they're also in a bad thing and they only have one good thing to boot, it's like, they're not as good as I used to think they were. That's why Adam Sandler's with Netflix right now. Or maybe he's not. Maybe they just sended him off as well. Adam Sandler used to be pretty alright. Now he's nothing, because people realize he was crap. You don't realize that in music anymore, because you don't think with music. You just go and just start dancing around. Fucking ridiculous. And we're rewarding people for this shit. If there's anything worse than giving a child a participation trophy for fucking showing up, it's giving a fucking musician, I use that term with the loosest quotation marks I possibly can, it's giving a quote-unquote musician an award for killing the fucking genre, killing the fucking art form, killing the fucking expression. It's ridiculous, it's redundant, it is stupid, it is bland, it is boring, it is basic, just like every fucking rapper they are. They're all fucking every not rapper. Most trap rappers. Alright, I'll say, and you know what? Probably all trap rappers, if not most. The vast majority. I meant to say, I don't really know what to say anymore. They're not rap songs, they're pop songs. And there's raps. And they're not rappers, there's trappers, or I don't fucking know. It's so fucking confusing. Christ alive. No. It's ridiculous. And it's boring. Cardi B is a piece of shit. You can see that every fucking day of the week. She doesn't like criticism. She can't take criticism. She won't accept criticism. And she's got a boatload of mindless idiots with no fucking voice trying to fucking swarm at people that say otherwise like bees. I'm not the biggest fan of Beyonce. Don't like her. I think she's an attention whore. I'll just be completely honest with that. She's got a fucking hive of dumbass fucking scum buckets swarming for blood. And they never really tend to get that blood because nobody fucking cares about them. Taylor Swift, I don't think she has a fucking flock of fans by choice, but she has a boatload of, what do they call them? Swifters? Swift Jets? Swiffer Jets. She's got a boatload of Swiffer Jets trying to mop up any criticism that there may be on behalf of her. It's ridiculous. It is this cult-like mentality that we hold these artists to the top for. And now, we're giving them rewards for killing everything that was once made special, that they just infiltrated and ruined. It's sad, but it's the truth. And it's the only thing worse than giving a kid a participation trophy. It's the only thing worse than giving anyone a participation trophy. You're supposed to get a trophy for showing up and doing well. And after a long time of just giving people a trophy for showing up in general, we're now starting to give people a trophy for showing up and ruining everything. Would you give a friend who crashed your wedding and broke down your cake and fucked your wife in your honeymoon bed, would you give him a reward? Apparently the music industry thinks it's a perfectly fine thing to do, so why the hell not, right? It's ridiculous, but hey, that's the truth. And that's the, I don't want to say that's the tea, because obviously I'm not an idiot, but I'm also drinking coffee on a podcast called The Coffee Podcast, or The Coffee House Podcast. I'll get used to it eventually. But that's my belief. That's my stance. That's not going to change. And it's sad, but it's the truth. We've gone to a position in which we've heard for years, stop babying this generation, because it's going to blow up in your face, and it's going to hurt them in the long run. We're now at the position where that, you babied that generation so much, it grew up and became a 50-year-old man-child. The next generations will only be worse. And it's things like music, and it's things like acting, and it's things like film, and it's things like entertainment that are living examples of just the kind of outlook a generation had on everything. Look back to music back when grunge was popular. Music was used as a way to not only express yourself, but rebel against what you felt was was indignified. It was not justified or justful. It was a way of rebelling. It was a way of admitting that you were pissed off, you were angry, and you wanted to do something about it. But at the same time, you were quelled, and so therefore you just had to listen to your music and make it known that you listen to this kind of music for whatever reason it may be. You don't like what the music industry is turning into. That's what a lot of people that listen to grunge were listening to grunge for. They didn't like how poppy and synthetic and narcissistic music was seeming to become. And so they wanted to listen to something that they thought was true and something that they thought was cared about more. It wasn't a part of the machine. Or at least wasn't a greater part of the machine. Or the engine of the machine, but maybe just a spoke on the wheel. Now you can't use music to rebel, because no one is shown any other music than what's popular. And it's all just one bizarre creativity, depraved pit of misery. I'd like to think that the music industry can be better. But I'm scared to think of what we will do when we look back on music in 20 years' time and see how we treated it. And see how we looked at it. Because I don't think we'll remember it fondly. Sort of a sour note to go out on, but hey, what am I good for other than tearing down the joy of others? That was the Coffee House podcast. That was podcast number 19, August 28th, 2019. I want to thank you for joining me here. I know we only talked about 3 topics, really 2 in total, but, it's whatever. I don't know exactly when I'll be back for the Coffee House podcast number 20. It will be next week at some point in time. I'm just not exactly sure what day. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I will let you know, probably by the end of Sunday, because that's when I should have everything sort of set in place. But you can follow me on Twitter at ZACHARYSERRA. No spaces, no underscores, no numbers, no numerals, whatever it may be. Just at Zachary Sarah. I will let you know by the end of Sunday, early Monday morning, when the next edition of the Coffee House podcast will be. But until then, I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for listening. The reason it's a black screen is so that way it's an audio-friendly podcast. You don't miss anything, just having your phone off or just listening in the car. You're perfectly fine. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your whatever it may be. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more if you desire. I am Zach Hardy, and I will see you next week.